welcome everybody. Hey there, Dennis. Glad we got you live online. Welcome to all of our guests from around the world. My name is Craig Peloquin, and I'm here live in Vancouver. And Dennis, what country are you in today?
I'm in Japan today. So I'm in a little city called Suwa, I believe, which is in Nagano Prefecture, not too far away from actually Nagano City.
There you go. And then last week you were just a little hop, skip, going to jump from there. You were in China, if I remember correctly.
I was all over. I was trying to get online with you on my iPhone from a boat in the middle of a lake, but man, things conspired against me, and it just didn't happen. I don't know if it was iPhone or the Chinese firewall or just what it was, but there was just no way my phone was going to let me come in and say hi to everyone.
Well, today's topic, what we're going to be sharing with everybody, Dennis, is kind of a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to be an MLM professional. And and I think it's a fun little topic because so many people think it's all about the flash. You got the free cars, and you're so successful, you made all the money. But what it takes to really get there, and some of the things that you and I have used that maybe nobody really knows about or nobody sees. They see the company, they see your products, they see the business presentation that your company offers, but many people don't see all the little things that we do behind the scenes in order to be successful. So why don't we start off with, just some of the things like you're talking about. You're on a road trip right now. Why don't you talk about some of the things that you carry with you on your phone or with you got to have as the MLM must-haves to build your team?
Well, sure, and I mean, why don't we start a little bit further back than that? And I hear this complaint. In fact, when I was in China, I was doing a training in front of a group of large leaders for a Chinese MLM, and they were still coming up with some of the same old objections. Like one of the main ones that came up was, "Oh yeah, but it was easier 20 years ago because nobody knew about it. Now everybody hates a network marketing company." So let's just talk about how much easier it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, when I was in Japan building a team, it cost me on average $1,000 a week just for internet and telephone usage while I was away building my network. And as we all know, our telephone and internet is absolutely paramount to building the business. So it was $1,000 a week. So that was pretty bad. And as much as a year ago, every time I traveled to Japan, I had to have my Japanese internet, and then I'd connect that through wireless to my smartphone because it was just horribly expensive to use your data, in Japan. So, and I would buy these travel packs that were like $300 for 21 days, and then I'd run out right away within about 3 days. And I mean, I'd come home to $1,200 bills after a month away. It's interesting. I was just thinking to myself this time that, now one of the most important things to me is my iPhone. And I don't care if it's an iPhone or whatever, but this is now through Roam like home data plan that Rogers has in Canada. I'm now $10 a day to use the same data plan that I have at home. And it worked all through China. It's worked all through Japan. So I've gone from over $1,000 a week to keep my business alive to literally $10 a day. And now I have full roaming access with my cell phone. Now, could I do it cheaper than that? I absolutely could. But the big point is people tell me how it's harder to do today. I just don't buy it. I mean, I used to do all this traveling around, and I had gadgets and gizmos and like a suitcase full of stuff just to be able to operate my business. Now I have my Surface, which I can't show you because I'm working on it, and my phone. I mean, I don't even need to have a rolling carry-on anymore to carry stuff. It can literally go in a plastic bag. So, I mean, I think the industry has changed so much. Now we have the internet. We can communicate through 15 different apps on our phone. We can communicate in a million different ways. We can do stuff like this with voice. So I don't buy it. I mean, I used to know people. Well, again, funny add-on to this. I remember going to a big MLM convention, and a guy came up to me and he's like, Dennis, man, I am so happy to finally meet you. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, who's this guy? And then I did like a good networker does, tips and tools of the trade. You smile and you go, oh man, so good to meet you finally too. Meanwhile, you're thinking, who the hell is this guy? So then finally I ended up turning around because someone else addressed me, and then I heard his voice. Oh, it's Brian Sharon. And I immediately turned around, and he figured out that I didn't have a clue who he was until just that moment. But that was because in those days, we didn't have video. Everything was done over the telephone. I'd never met him. I'd never seen him. And when I saw him, he didn't look and not the slightest bit like his voice made him look. So I was lost. So again, I mean, I just think the tools, I mean, having Skype, having things like these, Webinar Jam to work with Google Hangouts. And I mean, I just think, as I ramble on, it just goes on and on forever about all the cool stuff we have that we use. And I think we even forget that we use it, or we forget that 5 or 10 years ago, it didn't exist. 6 months ago, I didn't have Roam Like Home. So it was horribly expensive to use the internet in Japan on my phone, which makes it inconvenient because now your phone is basically dead, right? So sorry, I absconded with all that.
Okay. I mean, we didn't even go back. It was only it was only recently before Roam Like Home that you would carry around your Vonage unit with you and try to figure out a way to plug your Vonage into the internet at the hotel. But you couldn't leave the hotel to use the phone calls.
That's right.
You had to be in your room. People don't realize that, the lifeblood of your organization is you.
That's right.
You are the leader. And you taking off for a week, if your team isn't at the point where you've got all your people, they still need to get a hold of you.
That's right.
And they also need to get a hold of you and see what you're doing, because they want to see what the lifestyle about being a professional networker is and some of the cool places that you go. So, and Dennis, you're really good at this, about posting stuff on Facebook and showing lifestyle shots. How important is that in Facebook compared to the business of LinkedIn, if we use those two as an example?
Well, I build. I don't build an active downline, so I'm using Facebook in a way that works for my business. And I used to think that Facebook was more for my personal and LinkedIn was more for my professional. Doing business in Japan, there is no LinkedIn. Nobody knows what it is. I don't know if it's even translated to Japanese. So everybody uses Facebook for business. So all of a sudden my Facebook, unless I had a second account, which I don't really need to do, my Facebook is loaded with a bunch of my Japanese business connections. So things have sort of become a bit murky. So I think that showing lifestyle is important. And I think you also have to be careful, because you'll notice on my Facebook, I almost never show pictures of me with a spouse or anything like that. I try to keep it all very sort of generically acceptable for business. So even though I have my Facebook page, I post